In this video, we're going to be looking at quadratic equations and telling whether the function itself has a minimum or a maximum value, and then finding that value. So let's first begin by talking about minimums and maximum. A minimum occurs when our graph opens up and our point is sitting there. A maximum occurs when our graph opens down and our highest point would sit there. So basically, this location of our minimum or maximum value is actually the y value of the vertex. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at letter A together. Actually, let's take a look at letter B together because it's a little bit more complex, and you'll do letter A on your own. So for letter B, we have f of x equals 1/4 x squared plus 3x plus 1. Now the first thing that we're going to want to do is find our A, B, and C values. Here we have an A value of 1/4, a B value of +3, and a C value of 1. Now in order to find our vertex, and we'll need to have our axis of symmetry. Now before we get there, let's decide if our graph is going to have a minimum or a maximum. So just looking at our A, B, and C values, it should be able to tell us. In fact, just looking at our A value is enough. Here we see that our A is a positive number. And what that tells us is that our graph is going to open up. And if our graph opens up, that tells us that we're going to have a minimum. Now we're ready to find the value of that minimum. So we begin by finding our axis of symmetry. And remember that our axis of symmetry equation is negative b over 2 times a. So we'll plug in the negative b value over 2 times our a value of 1/4. Now we're ready to take this value and to plug this value into our calculator to get an answer. When we do that, we get a value of -6. Now that we have that x value, remember all we're really looking for here now is our vertex. We already have that it's a minimum. Now we just need our vertex, and we already have half of it. So now we're going to take our equation, 1/4 x squared plus 3x plus 1, and we're going to plug in our axis of symmetry. So we're going to plug in that -6. When I plug that into the calculator, that's going to give me a value of -8. Value of -8. So what I'm able to say is that it will be a minimum at -8. Now that's just one way you could have worded it, because our location is also at -6, -8. So it really just depends on what your teacher might be looking for or what exactly you're trying to communicate to others. So I'm going to have you do letter A now on your own. So think, if A being positive made the graph open up, what would A being negative do? So I'm going to have you work out f of x equals -4x squared minus 24x minus 19. We want to know, is it a minimum or a maximum value? And then where that value is, like what is that value? So go ahead and push pause, and then when you're done, push play, and let's see if you were right. So first you should have decided that this had a maximum value because our a value was negative. Then you should have found the axis of symmetry, which gives us an x value of -3. Then to find the y value of your vertex, you should have plugged the -3 back into the equation, which would have given you a value of 17. Now remember that that's the location of our maximum. And so here we're able to say that we have a maximum at 17, or a maximum at -3, 17.